Have you ever thought about how a single message, just one letter, could completely alter the course of history? Well, that's exactly what we're getting into today. We are going to take a really close look at the Quranic account of Prophet Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, and we'll be using the fascinating insights of Ayatollah Javadi Amoli to guide us. We're going to see how this one ancient letter unpacks some incredible, timeless lessons about leadership, what real power is, and even the nature of reality itself. All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the arrival of this mysterious letter from a king. Then, we'll dig into the unseen knowledge that was behind it all. After that, we're going to decode the power packed into the message itself, see how the queen responds, which is just brilliant, by the way, and then wrap up by looking at what this all teaches us about the true test of kingship and authority. Okay, so when you think of a clash between two great powers, you're probably picturing massive armies, right? Clashing swords, epic battles. We'll forget all that. Our story starts much quieter. It begins with the flutter of a tiny bird's wings carrying a single sealed letter. But don't be fooled. This small message is the spark that's about to ignite a major confrontation between two of the most powerful rulers of the ancient world. The stage is set, and the first move is just about to be made. Now pay really close attention to what the Queen of Sheba says first. Right out of the gate, she receives this letter, and before she even knows who sent it, she calls it noble. Think about that. That's not just her being polite. It's a sign of incredible insight. She immediately senses that this is no ordinary message. Right from the very start, her wisdom is on full display. And this right here is the first huge test of leadership. It's not about what you do first. It's about what you see. The queen's wisdom isn't in how she immediately reacts, but in her ability to perceive the reality of the situation, to see what others might miss. By calling the letter noble, she's essentially signaling to her entire council, hey, pay attention. This is a big deal. This is something extraordinary, and it's going to require more from us than just our usual military might. So that begs the question, right? What makes Solomon's letter so powerful in the first place? How did the queen sense that? Well, to really get it, we need to step into Solomon's world for a moment. We have to explore a concept that is absolutely central to this entire story, and that is the unique kind of knowledge that a prophet possesses. This concept is called ilm al-ghaib, which literally means knowledge of the unseen. Now, the best way to think about this is like having a direct line to a higher reality. It's access to information that's totally beyond our ordinary senses, completely invisible to the rest of us. We're not talking about a gut feeling or a good guess here. This is a divine gift. It's what allows prophets like Solomon to see the true, bigger picture and act with a level of certainty that no one else can. So you can really see there are two distinct realms at play in this narrative. You've got the alam al-shahada, the seen world. That's the physical world we all experience. It's the world of courts, birds carrying letters, the things we can touch and observe. But operating right alongside it is the alam al-ghaib, the unseen world. This is the metaphysical reality that's guiding everything from behind the scenes. And that's the key. Solomon's actions in the seen world, like sending that hoopoe, are a direct result of his access to the unseen world. His moves are a reflection of a deeper truth that only he has access to. Okay, now for the letter itself. Let's do a little forensic analysis here. It is incredibly brief, just a couple of lines, but believe me, it is packed with a universe of meaning. And if we break down its structure piece by piece, we can uncover this incredibly powerful statement about where true authority actually comes from. Indeed, it is from Solomon. This is the political dimension, right? One king addressing another ruler. Simple enough. But the next part? Well, that's what changes the entire game. And here's the pivot. The letter continues, and indeed it is, in the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. Now, the commentary points out that this second, indeed it is absolutely crucial. That repetition isn't an accident. It creates a clean break. It separates the messenger, Solomon, from the ultimate source of the message. In essence, Solomon is saying, I'm just the one delivering this. The real authority, the power behind this command, that comes directly from God. So you see, this letter's structure is a lesson in itself. It's a masterclass in the hierarchy of power. It establishes that God's authority is paramount. It frames Solomon's kingship not as some personal despotic power, but as a form of divine representation. That Bismillah at the beginning isn't just a polite opening, it's the core of the message, the very thing that gives it legitimacy. So when the letter says don't be haughty, it's not just an ultimatum from a rival king, it's a divine injunction. All right, so the Queen of Sheba is faced with this incredibly potent message, a message that claims divine authority. How does she react? Does she panic? Does she immediately call her generals and prepare for war? Nope, she does none of that. Instead, her next move shows us what truly wise and consultative leadership looks like. Her very first move is to turn to her council. She says, "O eminent ones, advise me in my affair. I would not decide a matter until you witness it." Think about how different this is from the typical despotic rulers of that era, or any era, really. This isn't weakness. This is the exact opposite. It's the mark of a strong, self-assured leader who genuinely values the input and wisdom of her people. And their response is just fascinating. It's twofold. First, they puff out their chests a bit. They say, "We are men of strength and of great military might." They're stating the facts of their material power. But then, they immediately hand the power right back to her. They say, "But the command is yours, so see what you will command." They recognize their own limits. They have the strength, but they ultimately defer to her wisdom to direct that strength. They're waiting for her to give the order. And this right here just brilliantly illustrates the central tension of this whole encounter. You have the queen, whose primary tool is wisdom and diplomacy, and her council, whose primary tool is military strength. They're focused on action and pledging their force, but she is focused on analysis, on trying to understand the nature of the opponent they're facing. Her advisors see a potential war. She sees a political and theological puzzle that needs to be solved. So, before she decides what to do, the queen offers this incredibly sharp analysis of power. And this isn't just some off-the-cuff comment. It's a full-blown political theory, and it reveals just how deeply she understands geopolitics. It's the key to her entire strategy. She says, "Indeed, kings, when they enter a city, they ruin it and make the honored of its people humiliated, and thus do they do." She's verbalizing the standard operating procedure for worldly kings. They conquer, they pillage, they humiliate the local elites to consolidate their own power. It's a brutal but very predictable pattern. And by saying this out loud, she's basically asking her council, is this the kind of king we're dealing with? And that is the fundamental question she is trying to answer. Is Solomon just another king who seeks dominion and wealth? Or is he truly a prophet who seeks submission to God? Is he after her kingdom's treasury, or is he after their hearts and minds? Everything, the fate of her entire people, hinges on the answer to this one question. And her response is just brilliant. It's a pure strategic masterstroke. Look at her diplomatic strategy here. She assesses the threat, she formulates a hypothesis. Standard kings want wealth. Then she designs an experiment to test it. I will send him a magnificent gift. Her goal is to gather data. She wants to observe how he and his court react. His reaction will be the final piece of the puzzle. It will tell her everything she needs to know and reveal if he is a worldly king or a divine messenger. It's a probe, designed to reveal the true nature of his power and his intent, all without risking a single life in an open conflict. All right, let's pull back for a moment and synthesize what this whole encounter teaches us about the different forms of power and authority that we've seen on display. When we look at the key takeaways, we see a clear hierarchy. Prophetic authority, we learn, comes from divine knowledge, that ilmul ghaib, not from material force. We see that wise leadership prioritizes consultation, analysis, and strategy over just reacting with force. Military might or material power is shown to be just a tool, and it's a tool that has to be subordinate to wisdom. And maybe most importantly, we see that the power of a message, its structure and content, can be just as potent as an army. The ultimate test of leadership, then, is being able to discern what kind of power you're truly up against. So, this ancient story, which shows divine knowledge completely triumphing over material might, leaves us with a really timeless and relevant question. In our own world, a world so full of spectacle and displays of power, how do we recognize true authority? This narrative urges us to look deeper, to look past the superficial displays of strength, beyond the swords and the gold, to find the real source of authority.